Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. We honor them for having lived here and cared for this land from time immemorial. We appreciate the opportunity to live, work, and play in this beautiful place.
This is Rogers TV.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hi, and welcome to My River District, a show all about Owen Sound, the River District, and why locals love it here. I'm your host, Viveca Gravel, Community Development Coordinator with the City of Owen Sound, and I'm here today with my friend Jason Cranny, who is the Community Services Officer.
Correct. That's
yes.
it. Yeah.
I was like, check my notes.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming out. Jason and I work together on a lot of different initiatives, very closely on a lot of stuff. One in particular that I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later.
Hopefully we do.
Yeah.
It was a good one. I think,
it was.
And we've done a few of them. So I think talking about how that all transpired and unfolded and, hopefully how it's going to build into the future. I hope we talk about that anyway.
Well, now I don't want to.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm so glad that you were able to come in and sit down with us today and kind of share how Owen Sound having an independent police force really allows you guys to get into the community, ingrained in things. And I've come to really enjoy working with you. So Jason, why don't you give us a little bit of a background on how you came to be with the Owen Sound Police Services?
Sure. I think I guess one of the things most people may or may not know, I mean, if you know me, you know this, my background was not policing. It never was to begin with. However, I guess, a bit of a long, windy route. I applied when this position actually came available, and I was really thankful that I actually got hired because I felt that my background kind of complemented the role, and I certainly respect the work that police and law enforcement do, but my background is probably the opposite of what people might think when you put on this uniform. And I worked up at Georgian College. I worked on the CICE program for a few years. I worked at community living when I first came out of school. And then for a big bulk of my time, I worked at public health. Okay. And my background was in youth and community engagement. Okay. And more the health promotion side of things. So I've worked really closely with community and specifically with youth. So we got a lot of training and background in that area, and then traveled. I was really fortunate to travel across the province and talk to adults on how we actually interact and engage youth in our community. And within this role, though I work a lot with a myriad of different populations, different age groups, different priority populations, youth is kind of near and dear to my heart because I think it's kind of like that foundational group that you can start to build a good rapport with and hopefully help them make positive, good choices in the community as they continue to grow up. So that's kind of how I got into this role. In some communities, people get into as a police officer role and then they move into the community service officer role after they've been on the road for a few years. That certainly was not my path, but it was a path that I'm glad my path took the course that it actually did, quite frankly.
That's fantastic. And you're talking about youth and policing and things like that, and you actually spearhead the program with it's youth in policing? Yeah, so it's a initiative that most police services, actually all police services have access to, or they can apply for. It's funding through the ministry, and it allows us to hire young people. So it's called the Youth in Policing Initiative. Okay. And so for the first few years, it was really important for me to get young people, to get working, because it's really, really important thing, because I think young people need to have those opportunities. Two, to also understand what we do and why we do it inside the police station, and the work that we do, that transparent process, because sometimes people look at the police station itself and they have their own preconceived notions of what actually happens inside, and it's a bunch of great people that you work with who work hard to try to keep the community safe, but there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that people don't know about. So it's a great opportunity to learn about some of that stuff when you're young. Okay. And in that role, young people work with me a lot because I do the community service stuff, hence my title. Yeah. So they're out in the community all the time and understanding the importance of interacting with the community and transferring knowledge
to pick a different population, pick a different age group, and they help me do that. And special events is one of the main things that they do, because we like to have a positive presence at special events. We want to break down any stereotypes that people may have with policing, especially with young people. We want them to know that you're going to broach us, ask us questions, or if people have some concerns, whether it's with a family member, a young person, a grandparent, a neighbor, and they don't feel comfortable or they don't think it's a police-related matter, serious enough to call the police station or just to walk in the police station, that it's almost like taking the police station to an event. You can come up and you can ask.
More approachable.
Approachable.
Yeah.
So we have interactive activities. So the youth and policing students, they work a lot with the kids. And then I'll also be there. So if parents have questions or if the general public have questions, that's what I'm there for. I'm there to either answer them, or if I can't, get the information and provide the information that they need, or to kind of triage the situation and advise them and tell them, you know what, you should probably be calling the station today because that's something that's a little bit more serious in nature and you might want to get on that. So that's why we do that, and it's great having them because it's a great connection to the community. And I've been fortunate for the last, I guess, 4 or 5 years. I've had some amazing students that have worked for the Owen Sound Police and have represented the service quite well.
Well, and my first run-in with these police youths is years ago. I was at the splash pad at Kelso Beach at Nawash Park, and these 3 students rode in on bikes, and they started giving out positive tickets.
Yes.
You know, you're wearing a hat and sunscreen, and great job, here's a positive ticket. And I think it was like sunglasses or something like that. And the kids freaked out about it. They were so in love with that whole program. So do you still do the positive ticking program?
Yeah, we do that. It's a really important program that we do. So the students at least once, sometimes twice a week, their main mode of transportation is bicycle. It's a healthy, active mode of transportation for them. And it also promotes using your hand signal, putting on your bike helmet, having stuff that your clothing that you can see, all of that stuff that we try to preach, we practice. So young people who are younger than our students get to see kind of like a role model type behavior. And then if we see families having fun together, if we see young people who are doing something good in the community, we have community businesses who have given us coupons that we've been able to give out to say, hey, this is a positive ticket. Thanks for doing something good in the community. Or, you know what, thanks for coming down here and just having fun today with your family and being positive or being a positive role model. And it's a really good interaction. Yeah. We like it. It's been positive for quite a while, hence the reason the positive ticket program. We like it. We're going to continue to do it. We're really happy when businesses come on board and support that. And it's a great way to interact with our community.
So if a local business wanted to provide $5 gift certificates or whatever they want for you to give out to these children, how would they go about getting in contact with you for that?
Well, they can call me directly, so 519-376-1234. Certainly it's not an emergency, you don't have to call 911 for that.
Yeah, please don't.
Please don't. Just call the generic phone line, and then my extension is 569. And just say that you might want to get involved, next summer. I also have my Youth and Policing Initiative. I've written for another grant, and so we're going to keep students on for the fall and the winter months this year because we have lots of events coming up, lots of opportunities for our young people to stay connected with our community and continue to learn about policing. Because really, we also, for individuals who are interested in policing, it kind of gives them like a paid cooperative, really, just kind of a first-hand knowledge of what kind of happens. And for some of them, that's what they want to get into. They might want to get into dispatch or communications, records department. They might want to just try auxiliary when they get older and kind of get back, or they want to get into being a police officer itself. So it gives them first-hand experience. It's great on their resume. And it kind of is like a bit of a launch pad for if they head off to university or college and they want to get into law enforcement in some capacity.
So this is a paid role? Interesting.
Yeah,
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's why we have to apply or write for the grant, get approval if we're lucky. We've been lucky. Thankfully, we've got great students, and I'd say we have a pretty good program. So it's easy to report back to the ministry on what we do. Right. We have, we always make sure that we chronicle what we do. We photo where we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, because anybody who is taxpayers' money, you want to see what you're getting for it. And I understand that. I can certainly appreciate that. And certainly working in government for as many years as I have, when you report back, you can say whatever you want, but, pictures say 1,000 words. And then having community also speak on behalf of the work that our students do, I think also allows us to keep those doors open for grant and funding opportunities that comes from the ministry, so that we can continue to hire young people. And hopefully down the road, because we have a few, we call them YIPI students, Youth and Policing Initiative, our YIPI students who have gone on to university. They're in their second year, one is in their third, with the hopes to come back to the area. Maybe we'll be lucky enough to hire them, but we also have other municipal services, in our Grey Bruce area, that we hope that we've developed some really good people, or helped to develop really good people who went on, got continued education in law enforcement, criminology, forensics, pick a topic that might be relevant, because they want to come back and they want to be police. They want to be a police officer, and we want young people who are local to come back to this area. No different than myself, still working in this area, grew up in this area and still working in this area, and that's kind of what we want. Because we are unique. Owen Sound is unique. It's a city unto itself. You're about 2 hours away from any other major city on average. So there's the lure of going to the city, and ideally when you've got some good minds and some good young people, we want them to come back. So that's
I myself, I went away for school, and then I chose to come back here to raise my child. And I mean, one of the reasons I've done that is because we have services like, the youth and policing and our own police services and all the culture and all arts and everything like that that Owen Sound has to offer. So why wouldn't I want to raise my family here?
And I think it's also important when I can only speak from municipal service, that we have a lot of people who either grew up, who work in our police service, who either grew up in the area, or they have a family member who grew up in the area, or they've cottaged up in the area. So there's that personal connection. And there's a reason why they've been, pulled back this way. And so there's a passion. When they police in the community, there's a passion about policing in Owen Sound. And it takes a special person, because we are a very, very busy police service, because we have lots of services here in our city, but it's not a big city. So we have big city problems for a small city. Our members are extremely busy, some of the busiest per officer and call volume in all of the province. And you can include some of the larger cities when you break it down per officer. So you want to have people who are passionate about being here, who care about being here, and who care about putting on the Owen Sound police uniform, quite frankly. And that's what we're hoping with the Youth and Policing Initiative, is that they're also passionate about it, and we'll want to come back.
So youth and policing, just before we go to break, if somebody is interested in that role, how would they go about applying or becoming part of that program? So
the end of March, 1st of April, we'll post something on our social media accounts. So if you don't follow us on social media, because you'll also get up to date on a myriad of different things that are happening with our service. But when it also comes to employment opportunities, and youth and policing is no different than a constable position or a dispatch position, that's where we post them. You can check it out, and then there's a whole application process, and there's a full interview process that you go through. And sometimes you'll be invited back for a second interview process, because we want students to actually understand the importance of not only the role, but when you have an interview later on in life, this is how it's probably going to transpire. So it's a process, and we do our best to try to hire good people, knowing that there's going to be some great ones that we don't get to hire because we only have so much money. But that's basically it. So around end of March, 1st of April, we'll start asking for applicants, and then usually May we do the interviews, and then you'll start in June.
And your Owen Sound Police Services online, right? On your socials?
Yes, Owen Sound Police Service,
Perfect.
So you can check us out, Instagram, Facebook, X, I guess now, not Twitter. And you can also check us out on our website. So
perfect.
That's ideally how to connect. But if you are interested in those kind of roles, specifically youth and policing, that's the best way to do it.
Awesome. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about some of the things that we've gotten up to together. And I'll see you in a hot minute.
Sounds good.
Baking for Change is coming this fall, and I'm your host, Wendy Pauls. We'll feature some of Canada's best bakers like Jen and Astor, sharing their favorite recipes. And you can bake along with us at home, while supporting refugee youth like Crystal. And the amazing work of UNICEF Canada.
Check for days and times.
On Rogers TV.
Welcome to Central Westside United Church.
Join us on the next episode of Grey County Life. We'll be joined by Owen Sound attack photographers Sam and Allie.
Also, of course, we'll be checking in with Renee from the Owen Sound Animal Shelter and meeting an animal looking for a forever home. Hope you'll join us.
We're back with my friend Jason Cranny, the Community Services Officer with Owen Sound Police Services.
Yeah.
We just finished talking about the
Youth in Police.
Initiative,
Yep.
the Yippee?
We call them Yippies.
The Yippies?
Yeah, our Yippie students.
And you can apply to be that starting in...
End of March, 1st of April.
1st of April.
In that time frame.
Yeah, and we had a really great experience with them actually fairly recently.
Yep.
This fall we held a wheel and ride. And of course, this is one of my initiatives that I began with the River District, having had fond memories of bike rodeos from when I was a kid.
Yes.
But we wanted to call it a wheel and ride because really kids can bring their scooters or rollerblades or their skateboard,
yep.
whatever, because it was really just the foundation of street safety and
Sure.
learning how to have your helmet on right and hand signals and all those kinds of things. And your students actually took huge role in that, being there and setting up the course and all
Yep.
that kind of stuff. And we've done this a couple of times now, but the one that we had in September was insane.
It was. In fact, it was hands down the biggest one that we've ever had.
Yeah.
And we had talked. We tried to do something we tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah.
To move it in front of City Hall.
Yeah.
To kind of coincide with the market because there's other things happening that weekend. And wow, that was
very cool.
It was cool. And then to have 2 local service organizations helping and supporting the event.
Yes.
As well as Scenic Cycle.
Yes.
Was awesome. And so it was a great partnership with 5 different organizations. And in fact, I would say it was so successful, we didn't even have enough space to do some of our proper safety training with young people because the lines were so big. And so,
Brandon at Scenic Cycle probably hit, 100 bikes that day?
I don't think he put his head up from the time he started until the time he finished.
He had his 2 toddler age kids who were literally helping him blow up tires and stuff.
And I think it shows the need and the importance of, continuing to support, what you would have referred to and I would have known as bike rodeos and just trying to, change the mindset that it's not all bikes with scooters and skateboards and rollerblades. And it's a healthy, active mode of transportation.
Absolutely.
And it's a great way for young people to get from point A to point B, but also understanding the safety parameters around that. And as we said before, we are a city and we have a lot of traffic to go through here.
Yeah.
So whenever we can have that opportunity to relay that safety information to young people, we do, and the EP students are great at that. So they did that. But we had hoped to have a little bit of a course, which we have in the past, and it's worked really well.
It was there a little bit in the morning and a little bit in the afternoon.
But it was packed. The amount of people that came was wonderful, and I think that's the whole idea is to host another one in the spring. And I know both service clubs were great to deal with, and they want to partner again, which is also
Brandon
amazing.
from Scenic Cycle is also totally in.
Yes.
He actually had to close his business down for that afternoon so that he could come and be part of this to help the greater community, kind of just out of the kindness of his heart, which is really, really lovely, because a lot of our local businesses will do those kinds of things. And then, of course, we've got the community groups. We had the Junior Optimists of Owen Sound, and it's the Kiwanis, but it was also the adult, the Sydenham and District.
Sydenham and District Optimist Club.
Optimist Club, that's right. And the Kiwanis Club of Owen Sound as well. And all them working together collaboratively to bring, the Optimists were really focused on the bicycles.
Yes.
I think the Kiwanis might be storing those bicycles for them.
And the Kiwanis also help with helmets.
Yes.
And bells.
Right.
I think Brandon was also helping with some bells for bikes. So there's a huge emphasis on, there's one thing about fixing a bike, but making sure that when that young person hops on that bike, that they're safe.
Yep.
So that's where the 2 service clubs, whether they got bikes donated and Brandon helped to refurbish them, which was kind of the focus from the Sydenham Optimist.
Yes.
And then, when a young person hops on that bike, what do they need to have on so that they're safe? And that's where Kiwanis kind of kicked in and made sure that we had helmets for anybody who needed a helmet, and how to properly put it on and how to properly have it fitted. And then we also had bike lights with the Owen Sound Police provided. and Brandon had some bells that he was helping install on bikes to make sure that when a young person left that day, we tried to make it as safe as possible. And so having all those partners worked out really well because I already took a little piece of that. And then, of course, having it in the River District was awesome because the amount of traffic that goes, you know, through the River District on any given day, specifically on a Saturday morning.
Well, yeah, it's market morning, right?
That's market morning. And so people even coming up and asking what was happening and what's going on. It's a great opportunity to talk about, you know, the downtown area, the River District, why we're there. And a lot of people might not think that, you know, in front of City Hall might be a spot that you would host an event. And we talked about whether that would work or not.
Took some measurements.
Yeah.
You biked around it to see if it was possible.
Yeah, and it was possible, but we weren't also expecting that many people. So it's a good problem to have. Like supply and demand, we'll figure another way to make it work and we'll expand accordingly. But that's kind of what you wanted to see in the hub of your city, to see community, like active, taking part, partnering. We had families, we had young people, we had newcomers to our community who are coming down.
Yeah, because it was welcoming week as well.
It was welcoming week as well. Yeah, so all of that kind of came together, which was fantastic. And I think it goes to show when you work collaboratively together in partnership, what we can actually accomplish. And it was cool. I'm really glad that not only was it a good event, but the area in which it was held was awesome as well. Just seeing people. It was just packed. There was a great buzz.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, just getting something around 30-ish bikes in the hands of littles to bigs, right?
Yep.
Toddlers with their little like push bikes to kids with multi-geared bikes.
Sure, yeah.
And stuff. And all of them left with helmets, bells, lights, the whole, well, bells and whistles, literally.
Yeah, that's literally what it was. That's literally what it was.
So it was really so lovely to see those families and those kids come together to be able to get those things in their hands because not everybody gets the opportunity to have one. Things are not cheap. We know things are not cheap right now. And so it's really lovely that there were people who also donated these bikes before that.
Yep.
And I believe the Sydenham and District and the Junior Optimists of Owen Sound are still collecting bikes for that, so that we can maybe do this again in the future.
I think that's the hope. I think certainly after talking to both community groups, as you have as well, service clubs, is that they were beyond happy with the results and they want to be involved in the future. And I know we're going to be having a meeting about that forthcoming to make sure that that actually takes part and actually happens. So and actually having two service groups working collaboratively together
so great.
It was great. And I think they also acknowledged that was great and they were kind of working through that. But at the end of the day, it's how do you make our community a better spot? And that's how you do it.
Right. I mean, both groups just want to help the greater community. And if working together to do that makes it all the more possible, then
so be it.
Why not? And it was such a beautiful message. And it was such a great day. I was so thrilled about it. I think I'm very emotional about it.
Yeah, no, it's good.
So that's fantastic. And yes, stay tuned absolutely for the new year. We do have some plans in place, but we're just working through some logistics on whether or not we can make something happen. That should be pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, you go to all sorts of other events too, right? Like
we do lots of events. And actually, I would say like most of the events that we go to, if they're not at the schools, are kind of in the River District downtown area. So we're in that area quite often, which is really good for us because there's a lot of foot traffic, especially during the day. Obviously Saturday mornings as well with the markets. It's kind of a bit of a happening spot in the summer. There's lots of things going on. There's music in the market. There's movie night under the stars that happens in that general area. So whenever we can be out at events, we certainly try to, and being on foot and on bike is a great way for us to interact. And the River District is such a large area.
It is.
So it's a lot better for us to be on foot so we can have that positive interaction, you know, with local businesses, with people who are, you know, doing some general shopping, people who are just downtown grabbing a coffee, maybe doing some banking, whatever it may be. Just to have that regular connection. So we certainly do that. And then we've been really active on our bikes this summer as well for a myriad of reasons. It's a good, healthy way to get from point A to point B. It's also a good way to just pull over and talk to the community because oftentimes people will ask us questions, generic questions.
I'm going to interrupt you there. You cannot walk down the road with this guy without him getting stopped every 10 feet by community members who have questions, who just find them very approachable. And you're so wonderful to engage with everybody who has questions or just want to, chat with you about certain things.
Yeah. Well, you certainly get asked a myriad of different questions, and I think it's kind of having that Rolodex in your head, because you can be asked anything from stuff on elder abuse to the positive ticket program, to something serious that's happened in the community, to drug issues, to what kind of work do you do at the schools, how come you're doing this, how come you're not doing this, and all questions are good. Like, it's healthy. That's the whole purpose of my role. That's the whole purpose of having that community service, is to have that interaction so the community actually feels that they have a voice, that they can talk to somebody. And I'm happy to take the time. Sometimes I'm late for a meeting, as you know, because I'll get stopped and I don't want to cut somebody off, and their conversation or their topic is important to them. And so I try to give them as much time as I can. And if I don't have the answers, will give them my card, and I will go back and I'll get the information that they're looking for, or I'll be straight up honest with them. Sometimes they're looking for an answer that they're not going to get. And sometimes it's out of our hands. Sometimes it has to do with the court system and not the actual law enforcement policing side of things. And sometimes it's something completely different, and I just have to remind them that we don't actually deal with something like that. So, but that's my role, and I'm okay with that. And usually when I go on foot downtown, I don't get very far, because there's lots of people who will stop and ask questions, but that's fine. That's what I like to do.
Well, and you're so good at it.
Well,
you're so great at engaging with the community.
I guess maybe I got a bit of a gift of the gab, I guess.
Well, I've been sitting here for a while, and it hasn't been hard to speak to you. So I think we're all benefiting from that. But we've got about a minute and a half left. You were talking about foot patrol in the River District and bike patrol and all those kinds of things, which we'll group into kind of one kind of thing. Can you give us some stats on that?
Sure. So certainly in the work that we do, we actually have to keep stats. That's part of the work that we do. And collecting the number of hours that we actually do on foot or on bike, we actually provide that information to the River District Committee.
The River District Board of Management.
Board of Management, which Inspector Jeff Flooney reports on that. And so on average, we do about 125 hours a month on foot and bikes, just specifically in the River District, which people may not be aware of, because of course, we might be doing foot traffic on 3rd or 9th or 2nd or by the market, wherever we are. You might not see us, but we are always walking around, trying to interact with our community. Sometimes in the evening at 3 in the morning, we're down there on foot, or often you'll see us on bikes. So we actually do, it's about 125 hours a month.
Wow, 125 hours per month is pretty impressive. We've got about 1 minute left. I wanted to thank you for coming in here. And really quickly, if you could just tell us, because you said you were a local, born and bred Owen Sounder, can you tell me why you as a local loves it here?
I love it here just because I like that small community feel, and hence the reason why my wife and I decided to raise our family here and come back and work here. So always liked it, always will.
All right. Well, Jason is a great friend to have in the community. He's always at our different events. We'll see you next time, probably at the Santa Claus Parade. You guys will be in and around the Holiday Magic event. We'll have hockey and stuff. You may not know about that yet. Surprise, we're going to have hockey.
It's going to be a busy day.
It's going to be a very busy day.
Day and night.
And we're very excited to have you there. You get your official Locals Love It Here button.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. It's been great. And of course, we're going to have you back, of course.
Sure. Anytime.
And maybe we'll bring the students next time.
They're talkative people as well. I might actually not even talk next time.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us on My River District, and we'll see you next time.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
I still remember the games. The laughter, the footsteps through the hallway.